So today we're going to talk about what high quality men and high quality women, or high value men and high value women, respect most in another person. And it's this quality. And I'm really excited to have in the house my dear friend, Patty Tierney, who's joining us today, who is the author of the book, For a Good Time. It should be called For a Good Time Called Patty.
Not anymore.
and by the way, the link to get a copy of the book is below. So why I'm having Patty join us today is she has a very unique story on her road to self-love. And let me just tell you up front, that's the quality we're going to be talking about, is self-love. So do you mind giving everybody a short clip of your life?
Oh, a short clip of my life.
Oh, no, but how did you get to a place of loving yourself?
Okay. Because I got to the place of loving myself because I did not love myself.
Yeah.
I went from that. I was raised with a mother that was not available. She was an alcoholic and not home most of the time.
Oh, can I jump in for a second?
Sure.
What she's going to share might be a trigger warning right now. So I'm just giving you this up front.
Yeah.
You might get triggered from what she's about to share. So talk about your mom was an alcoholic.
And what I found about triggers is that triggers help us. They help us take a look at what we are triggered to. And so it is a benefit. So don't be afraid of it. Because it really is a place that you probably need to look at.
Yeah.
So, So
we're talking about your mom was an alcoholic.
Yeah, she was an alcoholic. And I was, there was a lot of violence in my home, her and her boyfriend that lived with us for a long time. And I said to myself one day when she cracked a beer bottle over his head and I saw the blood running down his face, and it was very traumatic for a 5 or 6 year old. And I knew in that moment that that I had become a people pleaser, that I was not going to let anybody get angry because I was afraid that it would turn out violent. And so that was my path from that moment on. So that.
And what age was this?
5 or 6.
5 or 6. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So through my life, I just didn't express what I really felt because I wanted the other person to like me, to like whatever I was going to say. And so it took a long time of being with eventually a group of women that I could relate to. And I would look at these women and I'd say, man, these women are just like me. They have the same problems. They have the same stuff, but I always had them on a pedestal. And
wait. Who are these women?
Goddesses.
Okay, the goddess group. Okay, got it. And we'll talk about that in a minute.
I joined a group of women that were, they always brought their highest self. And they were amazing, spiritual, good people that always had something to say. And for a long time, I said, shoot, I have a lot to say, but I didn't speak up because I always was afraid. I was afraid that what I would say wouldn't be enough, wouldn't be good enough, or they'd already know it. And so I just held back until one day they challenged me. Okay. And they said, Patty, we never hear from you. What's going on? And I said, well,
did they know your backstory?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Because I want you to share that with everybody in a moment.
There was no secret. So on that day, I was given permission. They called me out. They called me out and they said, let's hear from you. You know, you're so quiet. So I started speaking up at that time. And it was little by little. And now they say, now we can't shut you up. So anyway, it feels really good to be on the other side of this. But it takes practice. And but it's such a freeing feeling to say what's on your mind instead of stuffing things. And the person that you're saying what's on your mind to benefits, because if we're always pleasing, and that's a lie, they don't know who you are. So it's really
well, you know, one of the principles in my book is speak your truth.
Yes.
Do it with kindness.
Yes.
You know, and the point I'm making here, and which Patty so eloquently illustrated, is we all have something to say in relationship. And when we honor ourselves, when we love ourselves and honor ourselves, then we should be able to express to those that we love how we feel about ourselves, about them, about everything in life. So okay, Patty, I want you to get into the nitty gritty
Okay.
story. Okay.
So having lived this life of I could come and go as I please, because my mom was usually with a boyfriend, not home. And so I had a lot of street smarts. And at one point, to fast forward a little bit here, I was married and we got into, I became the alcoholic that my mother was, that I was never going to become.
Aww.
You know, yeah, I did. I became her. And we got into selling drugs, cocaine, and that was a big deal because our life was crazy. It was all about selling and using, and I wanted a divorce. I really wanted out.
Wait, so you and your husband were doing
my
that?
husband, and I had 3 children.
Okay.
And I wanted to get sober, and so my girlfriend told me, you know, Patty, you know, you're calling me every night at 3:00, right? And I said, no. She said, well, you are. And do you know you're an alcoholic? And I said, yeah, I know I am. But I didn't know. I wasn't aware that I was calling her at 3:00 every morning.
Wow.
But I owned it. And she said, well, if you're willing, I'll come up. She lived in Vegas. She was a diehard girlfriend. We were very close from high school on. And she drove up to put me in a hospital. Now, me being crazy wild me that I was at that time, I said, well, shoot, I've got 3 days to get higher than ever. You know, I wanted to.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing.
Well, it's true. I wanted to have my last hurrah. I wanted to drink more, use more. And I was packing my suitcase with inappropriate things to go to a hospital. I was so out of it. I didn't know. I was putting high heels and purses, and I don't know where I was going to a rehab hospital. Anyway, she got there. And when she got there, I said, what are you doing here? And she said, well, I've come to take you to the hospital like we talked about. And I said, oh, no, you don't. Oh, no, you don't. So I started beating her up. I started hitting her.
Physically?
Physically. And I've never hit anyone in my entire life, ever. And my husband at the time was in the other room, and he heard this commotion, and he came in and he slugged me in the jaw and knocked me to the floor. And I said, Stevie, help me up, take me to the hospital. So that was, it's funny now looking back on.
Wait, who's Stevie?
My girlfriend.
Oh, her name is Stevie.
Her name is Stephanie in the book.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So so we went to the hospital, and we were getting ready to go to the hospital. I was all like, wait, stop on the way. My friend's got some pills. So that's the mentality I had. There was never enough love in my life, never enough alcohol that I chose to be loved.
Yeah.
And so I went into the hospital for 21 days and got sober and had counseling, and it was good for me. I came out a different person, not entirely yet, but I was on the path to having my voice, had my voice, but I didn't use it. So things were different. Yeah. I came home from the hospital. And
how old are you at this point?
I was probably, let's see, Rocky it was 1980. I'm 75 now.
By the way, she's 75 years old, everyone. I want you to look at this. This is what 75 looks like.
Yeah. So,
wait, how old were you then?
Was I? 32, I think.
32. Okay.
Like that. Around there. Yeah. So,
you went to rehab.
Yeah.
Came back from rehab.
And I'm sitting here, and he did not admit. He wasn't ready to fess up that he was selling drugs and that he was drinking. And so he said, but I quit and I'm not doing anything and everything's going to be fine. And I said, well, if everyone's giving me a chance to have a second chance at this, the least I could do is give him a chance.
Okay.
And I really wanted to be fair.
Yeah.
So within 3 days, he was breakdancing all night long in the backyard, and the music was loud, and I walked in on him, and he was doing a line of coke. So I said, I
think my audience is in shock right now.
Yeah, well, they probably are, but this was my life back then, and it just flipped 100%. I have changed 100% because I've been working on myself, and I love myself now, and that's a whole amazing flip. So I told him I wanted a divorce, and I would say it over and over. when I was drunk. I started drinking again. Let me say this.
Mm.
They give you a pill. It's called antabuse when you get out of the hospital so that you won't drink, because if you do, you'll get violently ill and you can go in the hospital. So
Really?
yeah.
Okay.
Antabuse. So I stopped taking it because I needed a drink to deal with him, I thought. So anyway, I said it sober. Before I started drinking, I said it sober. I want a divorce. I can't live like this. He was so paranoid from selling and drinking that he was pointing a gun out the windows and saying, "Do you see all those cops in the bushes?" And if I didn't say, "Yeah, I see them," he would drag me out to the backyard and say, "Look up at the sky, Pat. Do you see?" He'd call me Pat. My name's Patty. And he would say, "Those aren't stars. Those are cameras. Those are FBI cameras." So it was insanity, total insanity.
Yeah.
So I said, "Well, I need this divorce. I want to have a normal life with the kids." And he said, "Okay, that's what you want. I'll go." So he got in his car and he drove away. And I was like, "Oh my God, is this really happening?" And 10 minutes later, he came back and he said, "I changed my mind, bitch. Nobody's going. I'm not going anywhere. You and the kids have 3 minutes to get out or I'll blow you all away." That's what he said.
Wow.
And he meant it. So I gathered the kids, got in the car. I only had $50 to my name, no checkbook, no Sears card, because that's what we had back then.
Sears card.
Yeah, it was a Sears card. That was the thing.
I remember those.
Yeah,
my
sure.
mommy and daddy had one of those.
So driving away, I knew nothing could be worse than that. And no matter what was ahead of me, I was not coming back to that, no matter what. So not too long. There's some things that happened. I borrowed some money from an in-law, stayed at a few in-laws' houses for maybe 3 weeks, and then borrowed some money to rent a place. And on the way to getting a job, my car broke down. And the gas station man said, "Well," I said, "Well, I think it was $300. And I said, "Well, I don't have that kind of money, but I'll get it. If I could just leave my car here, I will come back with the cash and pay for it." And he said, "Well, here's my card. And if you can't, it's okay, honey. We can take it out and trade." And I was shocked. I was like, "What?"
Wait, did you know what that meant at that moment?
I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Could you say that again? Because I'm not really sure what you mean. I've always been married and a loyal, not the cheating type or any of that." And so he said, "Make me happy for an hour and I'll fix your car." So I said, "No, I'm not going to do that. I'll figure it out." So he pressed his card in my hand and I went away and back to my empty place where I lived with no furniture, no money for the kids. I had to get the kids back into school.
And how old were they at this time?
The kids were, it was on my daughter's birthday that this happened. She was 8 years old.
Okay.
So it was 4, 8, and 9.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah. So it was hard. It really was hard. It was stressful. And I wanted so much to be the sober mother that they deserved. But under that kind of stress, I found myself drinking more to calm myself.
Yeah.
And so I did. And 3 days went by and what am I going to do? How am I going to handle this? Okay. Finally, I was up all night and I took a drink in the morning like my mom used to do. I started becoming my mother.
Isn't it fascinating how we follow our parents, whether we don't like it? But that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, it is, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
So, where was I?
Took a drink.
Oh yeah. So in the morning, so I took a drink of wine and dialed as my hand shook, I dialed his phone number and said, "Okay, just this once, because I need my car to get a job." So I did.
So you called the mechanic.
So I called the mechanic and so it was very hard for me. I was, even though I was drinking, it was so not who I was that I was nervous. I was just a nervous wreck, talking all the way to the motel saying, "Oh, making small talk. Oh, do you have kids? Oh, where do you, it was just, oh," he said, "Yes. And there's their school." And it was crazy.
Yeah.
We got to the motel and within 10 minutes, honestly, it was over. He got close to me after putting the condom on, and it was over. And I just was like blown away, because I thought this was going to be some big thing that I had no idea what to do or anything. So all on the drive home, I just like was, wow, that was easy. That was easy.
I'm sorry to laugh,
Yeah,
but it's
it
not,
was.
not that it's
the
funny, but it's like,
truth.
yeah.
I know. So I said, oh, good. I have my car now, and I can get it.
Oh, wait, that covered the entire fixing of the car?
Yes, yeah.
So
he fixed my car, which was.
So what did you think? Like,
what did I think? I just thought, I'm so lucky. Honestly, I thought I'm so lucky that I didn't have to have sex with him, that here I get my car fixed. And it was just like, wow to me. And so it was, now what's next? So I had to look for a job, and I was looking for work.
Yeah.
Now, I made $300 in 10 minutes. That's how my mind worked. Because this kind of work is all about the money. We're certainly not doing it for any other reason.
Yeah.
People that get into this work, and I wasn't really into it yet. But I had a housekeeping job that was $6 an hour. And I had 3 kids, if you can imagine. So I got a phone call from him a few days later, and he said, you know, I told my cousin about you. Would you like to, I'm sure you need money, don't you? And I said, no, I don't want to. I'll work it out.
Yeah.
Anyway, same thing. A few days later, I didn't have anything. And I called him and I said, okay. So that seeing his cousin actually turned into 17 years of prostitution.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That I had no idea. That was not me. It wasn't going to be my life. It was just something that I had to really wrap my head around and be okay with. And because I always thought prostitutes were, you know, wearing boots and short skirts and walking the streets and had a pimp and all of that. So word of mouth, you know, from one cousin to the other. And then I thought, oh my gosh, I have to be able to not let my kids overhear the conversations when I get a phone call. So I got a pager, and
didn't you say you had business cards?
I made, that was later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was later. I made business cards later, because I always wanted to give my kids the house that they lived in before all this happened. I wanted them to have a beautiful home, which we had, with a swimming pool and 2 fireplaces. I mean, it was really nice. And so that was what was leading me. Unfortunately, the more I wanted for my kids, material wise, it was keeping what I really, really wanted for my kids was a mother that could be present in their lives. And so that was sad. Yeah. So I did become my mother, who was gone all the time. So I'll just fast forward a little bit. I had met when we moved. I did have a boyfriend, and we all moved into a house together to make it kind of work, and that didn't work, and went through a lot. So we rented a house that was 5 bedrooms, a swimming pool, not a tennis court, but a thing. It was really big, but I wanted everybody under one roof. But it was very expensive. It was so expensive.
Wait, can I ask you, were you making good money?
Not yet.
Okay.
But I had to. So that's when I made, it was on my book. That's when I made the cards that say, for a good time, call Patty.
Okay.
Because I didn't know.
By the way, this is the book, and you get a copy of it below, by the way.
Yeah, the story's in here. I didn't know another way. I was on automatic pilot at this. I was in such hustle mode. You know, got to get the money, got to pay the rent. Okay. You know, all of that. And then drinking and I was drinking through it. So how I got the clients once I got a card, because my first one that I met was in the car business. So I thought, I'll go to car places and drive in the morning before they're working on people's cars, and I'll call them over to the car and hand them a card for a good time, call Patty.
Mm.
And they'd take the card and they'd go, "Are you serious?" And I'd say, "Yeah, I am." And it had my phone number on it. So some would call me, some wouldn't. But I, over the years, started building up some regulars and made the rent somehow, you know. So that's.
You know, I've never asked you this. Have you ever had a really like violent experience with anyone or anything overly dramatic or traumatic?
No, I really haven't. I was so lucky. They were kind of businessmen looking kind of, or managers of car places, or I didn't have a problem with that once. And that's a long time, I know, to not have a problem like that. For a while, I was terrified to drive to the motels to meet them, because at the beginning, I used to ask my brother and his wife to ride along with me to get out in the car.
Wait, did they know what you were doing?
Yeah, I told my
brother. Okay.
He came from the same trashy background that I did. So, you know.
So what turned it around for you?
So I met a girl, a friend. She was a psychic, and I told her, I had an epiphany. I said, and by the way, I was never, ever receiving pleasure with sex. Here I became 50 years old, and I had never had pleasure. And I told her that. And she said, "Patty, I have a surprise for you. I'm going to take you somewhere if you're willing, and I'm not going to tell you where we're going, but I know you're going to like it." Okay. So we went and walked in, and people were greeting us and sponging us with
sage?
Yeah, with sage.
Sage,
we came in the door, and there was a man in a Punjabi suit laying on a big tuffet. And anyway, I met a woman there. I looked across the room, and she was gorgeous. She had blonde hair, and she was with a very sophisticated man. And I saw them interact, and I said, "I want that love." I could feel their love. And I said, it gave me that. So during I found out it was a Tantra workshop.
Okay. Was that Joy?
That was Joy.
Okay.
Yeah, that Joy, who was the lady who ended up changing my life. But we met there. And so so I said out loud to the people, "Oh, is this about sex?" And everybody sort of laughed, and yeah, it is. And because I didn't know, but I was really grateful. And Joy and I met on the break in line to get food. And she said, "Well, I'm Joy Mitchell. I guess you've come to the right place, haven't you?" Because I shared my story with her. And so we became close friends. And she hired me eventually as her personal assistant.
Okay.
And brought me into her world of what was amazing to me is I couldn't get over the fact that she liked me. You know, because I didn't really feel that I still had such low self-esteem. I felt like, wow, this lady that I admire so much. I mean, she was an author, written several books, and she had the first women's TV show, cable show on astrology. And, you know, she was just a wonderful, wonderful woman, doing lectures and all of that. She hired me as her personal assistant, and I got to hang out with her, and I got to have this great model for what's possible. And that changed my life. And she also created a group of women that there were 11 at the beginning. There were 11 women that she handpicked to be in this group, and she called it, well, they ended up calling it Goddess Camp. And it was one time for every season of the year we'd get together. I wasn't in it at the beginning because there wasn't an opening. In those days, it was closed.
Okay.
And so when Joy got sick, she said that she wanted me to replace her when she had passed on. So that's what I did.
Oh, is that?
That's how that happened.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. So keep going. By the way, folks, we have a long history together, and I know a lot of the backstory, but I forget sometimes the particulars.
Yeah.
So when Joy passed on, you stepped into the group of this group of women. And by the way, we're talking about some phenomenal human beings, and there's a camaraderie, there's a community, there's this group of just heart-centered women that I've been
Yes.
exposed to. So it's one of the
Yeah.
reasons why I'm able to do what I do,
Yes.
because of this group of both men
Same.
and women. Let me just be clear, because a
Right.
lot of the husbands and boyfriends and peripheral
Yeah.
people in the life are part of this
Yeah.
group of people. But continue with, so you joined in.
Going to this group was so, I had them all on pedestals. And I don't think that's really a good thing to do, is to
No.
put anyone on a pedestal, because they're up here, you're down here. It doesn't go. But that's where I was, that they were all better than me. I wasn't good enough. I didn't speak up enough. I just wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Until that one day that I talked about, where I did. But they brought their highest selves.
Hmm.
And we talked about all the important things that really matter. We talked about truth. And eventually I became Goddess Truth.
Hmm.
And that was my thing. I had lied. The first half of my life was all lies. And then...
Oh, wait, can you quickly share? Every goddess has a name. Yours is
Right,
Goddess Truth.
right.
Tell really quickly how...
There's like Goddess Heaven on Earth, Goddess Love, Goddess... I can't think of some right now. Goddess...
I know everybody's bitch name. By the way, there's also the alter ego of each goddess, right?
Right. Yeah. So there's goddesses with they make up their own name, and so that's when I became Goddess Truth. So that was mine. Yeah. So I loved telling the truth. It was so new to me and so challenging and so hard at first. But as I did my work and I was creating journals back in the days, I started a crafts business, and I created gratitude, truth, and courage journals. And I would journal about the truth. Because when we lie, we lose power. And when we tell the truth, that's the gaining of power.
Wait, quickly. When we lie, we lose power.
Yes.
And I was just, you know what occurs to me? When we lie to ourselves.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. And that starts there. We're lying to ourselves, you know. And I was lying to myself all the time. If somebody would ask me a question, my first response would be, what am I going to say? Because I knew it was going to be a lie. Because I had such an entangled life with raising kids, not knowing what I did for a living. I became, so I worked it out to where I would say, well, I can't take you to the grocery store today. What can I tell my kids I'm doing for a living now? And I'm going to be back in about an hour. So I came up with, I'll be a real estate hostess. And I thought that would protect them, and it would protect me from trying to make up another lie every day. So that worked for a long time, for many, many years. And as crazy as it was, I continued my drinking. I drank, those 7-Eleven gulpies that they have.
Oh, speaking of which, drink some water.
Oh, yeah, I'm thirsty.
I'm going to remind you to drink your water.
It's water. It used to be beer.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you. So I would take this jug and empty the soda out and fill it with beer, and I would take it everywhere. I would take it to the Little League games. I would take it to the motel. It was with me all the time.
So even being part of the Goddess group hadn't really been your turnaround. Like
it's a process.
Okay.
So it was a big, big piece of the process. Now I flashed back there with the drink because we were talking about the water, but that was earlier on. That was before I met Joy. I quit drinking finally after I tried to quit so many times, at least 6 or 7 times, really seriously tried to quit until I finally did quit. And that last time was different. I had to remember why I didn't want to drink, because the old way of quitting, I'll have a drink and that's fun. But when I wrote in my, here's what happened. Boyfriend I was with had a stretch limo.
Oh.
And we were together 8.5 years, and I was his little trinket on his arm. And I knew it. I knew it. I knew he didn't love me, but I wanted love so much. I really didn't know what it was at that point. Anyway, I lied and told him that I wanted to take my girlfriend to Spago's for her birthday. And I said, well, he'll loan it to me if I say her parents are going. So I would lie. But of course they weren't. But we got so smashed, so drunk that we didn't come home until about 4 a.m. And the driver pulled up and he was livid. And, you know, I was trying to get into the house and I fell back in the bushes and my outfit was torn and muddy by this time. It was raining. And I was hugging the toilet and I was sick as a dog and in bed for 5 days, shaking. I couldn't hold a spoon. He would get me soup from the Northwoods and feed me. But as I'm detoxing, I'm writing everything down. My heart will pound and shake. I have the dry heaves. I'm scared. This, you know, I will always hurt the ones I love. And that was something that you don't think about when you quit drinking. That when you know, and that one,
wait, say that again. You don't, when you quit drinking, you, what was about hurting the people you love?
You will always hurt. I will always hurt the ones I love.
You mean the
Meaning
thought
my
of
family? No, what I did while I was drunk, I'm hurting them.
I see. Okay, that makes total sense. Got it.
Mother in their lives. I was out hustling, trying to get more work, and you know, it was all about that, really. And so there's some funny things that happened along the way. But I did get sober that day. I didn't drink after that. And I brought that note to the hotels. We used to go to Vegas every month for 8 years because that's what he did. And I put the note on the hotel mirrors in the bathroom and my home and his house and my car, everywhere, to remind me of the truth.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. That's why I don't want to drink, because I couldn't remember that.
Let me ask you a question, and I want to actually go down another road really quickly, okay? Did it take willpower? Was it willpower alone to make the shift?
It was,
or was it being at rock bottom and seeing it like looking into the abyss and seeing nothing?
It was my desire that was with my will, my desire to be a good mother. That's all I wanted to do, is be a good mother to my kids. And I wasn't going to give up no matter what. And so it finally came to this. Okay,
I want to shift gears for a second, sweetheart, because there's something even bigger I want to share with our audience. Is that okay?
Sure, absolutely.
Dear friends, Patty is someone I've known for a very long time. She's been an inspiration to me, and you give to so many people in so many different ways. In fact, you started the Transform group, which is helping younger people helping people at a much younger age recover from things similar to what she experienced. Why I'm bringing this up with everyone is a few months ago, Patty was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And within our community, I mean, it's like, you know, all of our hearts drop. So I'm sharing this right now because I want to support her through my channel by having her share her story. But in a moment, I'm placing a link. If you want to support, if you can help support her, there is a GoFundMe link right now that I just posted. We would love your support if you could help her during this tough time, because, sweetheart, you've had, I'm sorry to say, a rough life. I've known you during the good part of your life, you know, but you've had a rough life. And while a lot of people have shared in the comments how courageous you are and how you can even relate to some degree, we all need support. You know, it's difficult. When I said earlier, willpower alone, the fact is willpower is just part of the equation, but also when we can get the support of people we love. So any support you can give to Patty right now, and maybe you can talk about what it felt like to get the diagnosis and how you view self-love. And by the way, this topic, I know the title is High Value Men Respect Women Who Have This Quality. The thing is, we all respect people who genuinely love themselves. And if they don't, we all have a duty to help others when they're in pain. So that's really the impetus of this. So how did you feel when you heard about it?
So when I first heard it, here's how it happened. I went and got a colonoscopy, which I had been late on. I should have done it 25 years earlier, but I kept thinking, oh, I'm fine because my first one was fine. So I'm saying to everybody, that's a good thing to do. Okay. So after the colonoscopy, they said, well, we've discovered that you have cancer in your colon, in your liver, and in your lymph nodes.
Mm.
And it's stage 4. And I was so shocked that I couldn't grasp onto it. I couldn't grasp onto it. It's still, I'm in shock, honestly, not in shock so much, but it's like, wow, I feel good because I had no symptoms. I didn't feel anything. I wouldn't have known, but I'm starting to get tired. And so that's a symptom. This coming Thursday, I start my first treatment.
Okay.
And that'll be immunotherapy. And I'll do that for, I think, 2 years. That's what they say. So we'll see how it goes. But I believe I'm going to be fine. I believe I have such faith and such trust in the universe that has my back, that knows all I've done to write this book, to put it out to the world, because it's going to help people. It's going to definitely trigger people, and they're going to feel gotten. And so that's what I want to do. I want to stay alive for my children, to have this book out to as many as that will get the help from it that's necessary.
Well, we want to support you with that. By the way, folks, if right now you have a question for Patty, you can write the word question and then post the question thereafter, or you can purchase a super sticker, super chat, or a super thanks. By the way, all the monies collected today from the super sticker, super thanks is going to go to your GoFundMe account on behalf of the Connor Asley Scholarship Fund. And I'm going to match every donation today from my own pot to support you. So again, if you see this link right now to support Patty on our GoFundMe. If you have a question, you want to get more of the backstory, you want to know what she did to turn her life. I mean, you've kind of explained what you did to turn your life around. Yeah. When I met you, it was over a decade ago.
Yeah.
And why I'm sharing this is, folks, I was blessed by joining this group of goddesses. I was actually dating a woman who got invited into the goddess group. And usually when they have their once a quarter camps, if you will, they invite the men to come the next day. And I got invited to this group of people where, much like you, I remember at first I was afraid to speak up. I was afraid to share because I felt like I was on a spotlight. I remembered I felt like I was stupid, or like inside, all those voices inside me said that, keep quiet, listen, don't say anything. And then when we did eventually, I actually got to do what was called a goddess camp, where it was both men and women. And I still was very quiet. I was like, I didn't want to say, you were there. It was at your house.
Yes, I know. I get it.
There was 17 people, I believe. And what happened was I listened to everybody share their story. And I realized, just like what Patty was saying, and like what many of you have said so far, is that we all have a story of pain, of suffering, of joy and happiness, hopefully as well. Some more than others, but at the same time, what was it that you said? Sharing is healing. No, it was John, her husband, popped in and said, sharing is healing.
Yes, it is.
And there's something, what did you say about the lie? When we lie, we give our power away.
You lose power.
You lose power. Mm-hmm. And I realized the more I opened up, the more I began to see who I am as a person. And I've often said men don't really connect with their heart through other men. we get this through you women. You know, and not to suggest that's a woman's responsibility or job, but there's just something about the feminine that can create an opening for men to be more vulnerable, to be more authentic, to be transparent. So again, if you have a oh, Nancy wants to comment here. If you have a question for Patty, post a question. She said, Patty, please read the book Radical Remission. The mind does control the body. My boyfriend beat fourth stage lymph node after she changed her beliefs about her, or my best friend, excuse me, not boyfriend, about her outcome. So you may want to check out that book.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely.
So what else would you like to share while we're holding for questions?
Just want to say that we all have messages that are given to us as when we're children, and some of them and most of them are from our mom. And my message, I was acting out when I was little and stuffed a bunch of leaves in a mailbox. The police came to our house and my mom looked right at me and she said, "You're a dumb, stupid girl." That was it. That was the message that I carried through my entire life. So every choice I made, it was, what would a dumb, stupid girl be worthy of? What can a dumb, stupid girl do? And so it takes a lifetime, takes a long time, but you can rewrite your story. You don't have to stay with that at all. And as you start to write, create your own life. Just wave a magic wand and write what you want it to be. And before you know it, your subconscious mind will accept that as the truth. And it changes. It changes.
See, that's funny. So not funny. I had a third grade teacher tell everyone in the classroom I was stupid. And I mean, and I have this vivid memory of this, you know, like I remember the humiliation, the embarrassment. And I would say that's been one script that I've been working on rewriting, because that will, I don't know for you, but it sometimes comes out, you know, as much as that's not a default person. There's kind of a default. I've worked on rewriting the script and I don't feel stupid like I did 10 years ago or 20 years ago or 30 years ago, even though, because I began rewriting my script years ago, but little by little, I'm having faith in myself. And just what Patty said a moment ago, I did a post on Facebook. It said, it was talking about reality TV. I was talking about The Golden Bachelor, which I talk about frequently. And I made a comment to everyone. I said, become the reality show or create a life so amazing that you become the reality show other people watch.
Good one. Yes.
In other words, don't get addicted to the reality shows. Create a life so amazing that people want to watch you, but not from a place of like drama or envy, but as a place of being a role model. And just like Joy, and we're dear friends with her daughter and her, would Bruce be a stepson?
Yeah.
Okay, stepson. We're dear friends with part of their family. Oh, and there's Elliot as well. Elliot, I forgot. You know, we get through them, we get a connection through her as well.
Yeah. So you can definitely.
So what's the importance of community?
Oh, community for me, because I didn't have community until I met Joy. I didn't have friends, really. The only friends I had was a couple guys. I didn't like women because I always thought women were judging and knocking other women. I heard that a lot and that hurt. So I didn't want to do that. So when I had community, I got to hear everyone's story. I got to see that we're all the same. We're all way more alike than we are different. They have challenges. They have problems. You know, the ones that just look like the perfect package, well, nobody's perfect. No one. And once I got that, that was huge for me, that it's okay to be vulnerable and to not be perfect. And I'm still working on that, to be more vulnerable and share, you know, the stuff that I wasn't ready to maybe before.
By the way, Kasha has just written in, says, Patty has so much wisdom and grace. She changed and transformed my relationship with myself and healed my relationship with my own daughter. Oh, Kasha, we're so happy to hear that.
Sweetheart.
So, all right, this week we're not quite done because I want to keep going for a few more minutes.
Okay.
I want people to ask a question. So if you have a question of Patty, post the word question and write the question thereafter. I think there's a really good story here. Oh, I know it's a good story. Actually, it makes me think about it. You know, writing the book is like writing your story, right?
It was, I had a love affair with writing this book because it felt so good to just put the truth out there after holding back for so long. I couldn't wait to sit down and write. I'm writing another one now, and I can't wait to be with that. It's just.
So you're going to talk about the experience of going through cancer?
Yes.
Okay. So why I brought this up is we all have a story inside of us. And whether it gets published, you know, like my book, by the way, I'm going to plug my book for a second. What the heck is self-love anyway? Whether it's a book that's published or it's a book that you do for yourself or maybe the immediate people in your lives, there is something amazingly cathartic. I know when Connor passed away, and you know, and you held my hand through a lot of that period of time in my life, I immersed myself into writing this book. And not that everyone has to wait for a calamity or a tragedy, excuse me, to happen. But I invite everyone, there is just something amazingly, as I said a moment ago, cathartic of writing. And by the way, and I believe writing your story, like there's a story there that maybe it can be shared for the next generation of you or your family and their kids and their kids. And what if we started to all write books for our great grandkids so they can read about it? Because sadly, many of us are afraid to write our story. But at the same time, isn't that what this is all about? We're experiencing life in all these different nooks and crannies. You experienced it through alcoholism, through sex work, through growth and sharing, and now through cancer. We all have a story. And I invite you all to begin that. So just an invitation. Beach Lover has a question for Patty. If you had an opportunity to do a gig economy back then, would you?
To do a gig economy?
Okay.
What is that?
Well, kind of what I do, it's like, well, people are in gigs, like they're individual workers for themselves. You have a gig. Okay. I don't know how to explain that in a way that I don't even know how to explain that, Beach Lover, in a way that I think, Patty, but in a way you had a gig. You know what the term gig, your gig was sex working. Yes. Yeah. Would you do it over again now, knowing what you know?
Well, that's a tough question. Would you do it over? I believe that I would not change anything in my life, honestly, because I learned so much it was my path to turning it all around. And it's the journey that was so wonderful, the journey that was so amazing. Had I had a life that was just so smooth, I like living on the edge. I like the thrill of not that work, but I like the thrill of meeting a challenge and being able to help someone.
By the way,
my experience.
Sorry. Yeah. Beach Lover meant like being a Uber driver or a delivery person. That's a gig person.
Right.
And I was just thinking, remember, what did you say you were earning $6 an hour?
House cleaning.
But you could get paid $300 for 10 minutes.
Well, that one time. Yeah. And what happened was after that, it turned out that I was making $60 an hour. And
wait, 10 minutes or an hour?
Well, I didn't know the going rate. And they handed me $60. And I did the math and I said, well, you paid $40 for the room for the hour. And so that came up to $100. So I thought that was probably what it was supposed to be.
Okay.
So I didn't know. And, It was more than I
Wait,
ever made.
Did you pay the room by hour?
I didn't pay for it.
They did. Okay.
They rented the room. And
I
they
was
would
going to say,
wait
if you
for
got a
me.
room for a day, you
No,
could add
no,
a couple
no.
people.
No, no. They would rent the room and wait for me in the room, and then I would join them. And I found out later that that's what
they're
cost.
paying.
Yeah.
Okay. Cupcake says, as time goes on, many of us women can relate to those other intimidating women, which can lead to our own pain and healing. Yeah.
I think I just have to say that I think the most important thing in this whole journey from going from the lowest self-esteem that you can have to where you don't really care what other people think. And that's genuine. I got to that place now. I don't care. I mean, I care. I want my family to think good thoughts of me and my close friends. Of course I do. But it's not going to change my choices. It's not going to affect me if they frown on what I'm saying right now. There might be lots of people that are saying, oh, how could she, or whatever. That's not important to me. I got to that place where I know what I'm doing. I know that I'm helping people, and that's.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So, given what you did, I could see how you could resent men. I'm not saying you did. I'm saying I could see, because in my line of work, especially for women who have felt that they've been hurt by a previous relationship and maybe legitimately physically have been hurt, but say emotionally been hurt. And there's a bitterness, there's a jadedness, there's a resentment towards men. Given what you went through, did you ever resent men afterwards?
No. And I'll tell you, I was not in touch with my feelings for so many years that I just didn't feel the pain. I was avoiding it with drinking. So now I can cry. In the last 10 years, let's say, I got in touch with my feelings, and it's important. That's where the miracles are. If we can feel our feelings, we have to feel to deal with it, to heal it. So it's feel, deal, heal in that order. And if you can be courageous enough to do the work, it's just feel, deal, heal.
And
you gotta feel your feelings. I mean,
so can I say something? And this is going to rub some people the wrong way, because women believe that they're all about their feelings. And I often say on my channel, women might have a propensity to vomit feelings, but I don't get the sense that most women actually lean into their feelings from a feel, deal, and heal perspective. Because there's a big difference, right?
Yes, there is.
Because you even said you stuffed your emotions and your feelings for so long. I believe many women do that exact same thing. They stuff their, and really what we're saying is, or what I believe is, both men and women stuff their voice. There's a fear of speaking out, because the minute we open our mouths, we can be judged for our choices. And what Patty was saying earlier, and I just have to give her some props there. The last time we did this video, there was some people that made references about you and what you went through, and maybe you're not a good mom and whatnot. That's just a projection on other people's part. Until you actually walk the shoes of someone else, what's the saying? He who without sin cast the first stone. Like, we all have something. We all do. It's bullshit to think otherwise. So what matters most, and what I love about you as a person, is that I know you're going to beat cancer, because you're better than cancer. You're like, fuck you to cancer. But more importantly, it's because you have a mission to continue to spread your word, not just through your book, but through the way you live your life. And so,
and I just want to say one thing too.
Sure.
You might say, well, how do you get to that place where you can feel? Okay. There'll be something that shows up, and we kind of know when we're stuffing it, that we don't want to feel this. We either reach for some substance to numb it or whatever. Take a minute, stop. Don't reach for that for just a few minutes, and feel it. Really be conscious and feel it. And for me, I would sit with it maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And before I knew it, up bubbled this well of tears that I never shed. I didn't feel it until I allowed myself the time to be present with those feelings. I was just always running from them. I didn't want to feel it. I didn't want the pain. But the greatest surprise party in my life is that it feels so good. It's nothing to run from.
Yeah.
Feeling your feelings, you may cry, but that well of tears that come out of you, honestly, is such a beautiful release. And it heals it, and it feels, you feel lighter, and you create space for more.
Oh, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to make a commitment to everyone because I'm an emotional eater. I'm going to sit with it. The next time I feel that temptation,
Yeah.
I'm going to at least give it 5 minutes. I don't know if I'm going to cry though.
Not if you cry, not just to feel it. You know?
Yeah.
We don't always have to cry.
Well, I suspect, you know, and I would say for me, and I'm only sharing this so if anyone can relate, it's when I feel lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's usually the time I kind of gravitate. And what I mean by, and I'm blessed with so many beautiful people in my life, so it's not like I'm not lonely, but I think I'm disconnected with my own self-love in those moments. I've abandoned myself. And so food, which was the way my mother, coming back to, I do believe our mothers influence us in so much. My mother was 300 pounds, 5'5", 300 pounds when I was 12 years old. And that's how she comforted herself. So I kind of adopted the same thing. Okay, let's see what else. Let's see. Cupcake says, I agree. We each have our own challenges to meet and exceed in our own method and manners. There's more than one way to be a survivor. Indeed. Yeah. You know, it's again, what I think Patty is sharing with everyone is we have the benefit. I'd like to think we have the opportunity, let me just say this, to not only write our story. If we get a pen and paper, we can begin to write our story, but write the script of our lives.
Be the star of your own movie.
Yeah. Or what did I say? Create a life so amazing, you become the reality TV show other people watching. So
make it a good one.
Well, Patty, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, John.
Yeah, everyone, I just want to remind you, if you would be open to supporting Patty, there is a GoFundMe for her to help support her for her cancer treatment. I just posted it right there. There's also a link below as well. And in addition, I highly recommend checking out this book for a good time. I always want to say for a good time, call Patty, you know, for a good time, purchase Patty's book. There's a link below to get a copy in Jonathan Recommends book.
It's also in Audible. If you don't want to read, you can listen to it.
Okay. Well, sweetheart, I always end my videos with a big, gigantic Jonathan Bear hug. Can I give you one?
Yes.
Yay. Oh, thank you for being on. Everyone, thanks for being on. We really appreciate it. Please support Patty. And also, please go write your story. There's a beautiful story inside of you. And I invite you all to begin journaling, writing this down, and express yourself, because through that experience you can heal. Feel, deal, and heal. Yes. And I want you all to do that. So please go out and do that.
I got that from reading Ian Van Zant's work. Just
okay.
I didn't make that up.
Okay. Give credit where credit's due.
That's right.
Okay. Well, everyone, we'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye now. Bye-bye. Wait a minute.